Hello again and welcome back to this series on how to draw great art. Now before we start, of course, as usual, if you haven't subscribed, could you do that please? That would be fabulous. And also ring the little bell icon if you want to know what's coming up next. Alright, well the great art today is Girl with a Pearl Earring by Johannes Vermeer, painted in 1665. And it has the look of a Mona Lisa, and that's why it's called sometimes the Mona Lisa of the North. It has that subtle, enigmatic look. Okay, and I'm going to start with the eyes. They're on a slight slope. So we start with the corner here, and the eye slopes up quickly, and then curves down, and the girl's looking out towards you, so you see the pupil of her eye coming in here. There's a big highlight, which appears about there, and the centre part of the iris there. And then the underside of the eye is curving back up, and then it gets kind of lost. And there's a bit of nice dark shading under the eye there. And also, like the Mona Lisa, it doesn't have any eyebrows. And what you have is the technique that Leonardo used, which is sfumato, which is blending in the light and dark areas. So this dark area here would come up and blend into this light one here, not too obviously. Okay? And the other eye comes in about here. Again, more of a curve there. Come down around that, with the eyelid coming up above it. And the curve below the eye, and then the pupil coming in, again, there, with a big highlight about here. And a bit of shading under the eye. Now the nose comes down from here, and the shading above the eye disappears like that. And the nose, this side of the nose kind of disappears into the light, the way that Vermeer painted it. But comes down fairly long nose again, down to a curve here, a gentle curve, and the side of the nostril there, like that. And then you get the shape of the middle of the lip there. Then very full lips. You get the curve in the middle. Because it's foreshortened, you get this side of the mouth kind of disappearing around the corner, as it were. And then a nice line up towards that bit of the mouth. Slightly open, lips are slightly parted, and you see just a hint of teeth in there, like that. Yeah, nice full bottom lip coming in, comes around like that, almost square along the bottom. See that? And then she's wearing a turban, of course, and that comes up right across her forehead. And the edge of her forehead appears in here. Coming in like that, with the cheekbone. Nice curve of her cheekbone coming around there like that. Coming in towards her mouth. And then a smallish chin. Nice curve there. Coming back up towards the ear. And, of course, the famous pearl earring, which hangs from here. And it's in two parts, actually. Natural pearl, of course, so it's slightly misshapen. So you have this slight pear shape, almost. And then below it, there's another big one coming in and coming up behind it there. Okay? And you see the folds of the cloth of the turban and so on. The front comes up on the slope, like this, tight into her head. Like that. And there's the top of the turban coming in there. And then another bit appears just there, the fold appearing. And then there's a bit that comes out of the top, springing out, makes that kind of bunched shape there, all folded. And from there you get the part of the end of the turban or the scarf that's been tied on the head, that's hanging down like that. Great big long folds like that. Yeah, another bit coming in here. And double back in itself, like that. And then this part here. This part actually disappears into the darkness. We'll be shading this on later on. And then back of her neck, that disappears into darkness too, so I'm not going to draw that. You see the front of her neck, however, which comes in about here. And then she's wearing a white collar there on top of this kind of golden jacket here with the shapes of the creases on it. And down along here, she's got, don't take this out of the way, you've got this shape of stitching all down the back here, like that. And then the folds of the material come in like that. And as I said, there are more shapes up here, creases, indentations in the fabric. And I'll just put them in quickly like this so that we can then shade them later. Back to this shading here, by the way. If you remember, if you watched my drawing of Mona Lisa, there's this muscle at the back of the eye here. And Leonardo does the same as Vermeer. You know, it kind of highlights that by curving the shading around there. So I'm just going to draw the shape of the shading just now, which comes around there, and then around this cheekbone here, this high cheekbone, and then down the side of her chin, and then round here, and this part of the mouth. So there's that kind of shape you're seeing there. Darker around this bit here. But like Leonardo, this sfumato of the shading is dark and then blends in with the light part here. So I'm going to work on that. Okay, as you can see, I'm using this darker pencil as a 6B to put in these bits of shading around about that muscle shape and round the cheekbones. And I'm going to blend this very dark shading into the lighter shading later on. But for the moment, I'm going to move up to her eye and put in this line along the top of the eyelashes here, which is quite heavy. A bit more along the eyelid here, like that. And then leaving that highlight, shade that central section very dark, and then a nice dark bit around the edge, coming up like that, and then fill in that with a lighter tone. So you get that quality there. See that? I'll do that with this one too. So that's a dark part in the center, leaving the highlight, and then darker around the outside and a middle tone in the center. So darker eyelid there, shading there, and this line, actually I've brought that up too quickly. That line should come in like this to see more of the eyeball shape. So I'll just rub that out and I'll start to put some more shading down the side of the nose. Okay, put some shading around there and also some shading down the side of the nose here. And what I'm doing is, I'm using, there's a flat bit appears, you know, when you work with your pencil, and I'm using kind of circular shapes like that, just to shade in very gently that mid-tone. And then a bit of darkness comes in here, and then around the edge of the nostril, you use the point to put a bit more shading in there. And then a nice dark bit underneath, and then a little bit here. But not a line up there, because in the painting that vanishes with the into the kind of lines of the cheek there. A bit more shading under here now. I'll leave a wee bit of refracted light, see under there. And then the middle part of the lip there. So a bit of shading under the nose, a bit of shadow there. And the top lip gets a little bit of shadow like that, okay? Now the lip itself is darker in the center, so just above the teeth there, a bit of dark shading, and bring your shading up towards the top line, leave it a bit lighter along the top, and darker in here, darker underneath that top lip where it joins the bottom lip, bit of a weight on it, and then along the top of the bottom lip, a bit of dark shading coming up there, but leave a nice light part in the center there, like that. And then a bit of heavier shading under the bottom lip as it curves around. And then a little bit more dark shading just around where the teeth are, and shade over the teeth slightly like that. Okay, so she has that kind of enigmatic look about her, like the Mona Lisa. Now, this wasn't a painting of anyone in particular, unlike the Mona Lisa. It was a painting that he imagined. In the movie, of course, it's the I think it's the maid who comes to work for the household that he paints, but in real life, in fact, this was a painting from his imagination. Okay, so I'm going to work now some more on this and bring this down in the middle tone, and also some dark lines up underneath here, and I'm going to shade in some of these creases and folds. All right, I've shaded in some of these folds now, but this area here needs to be taken down, so I'm just going to again use that kind of slightly circular technique to use a middle tone to bring that back a bit so it doesn't stand out, and bring that up to about here. This middle part here is catching the light, but all this is fading, is going to fade into the darkness, and it's very dark as it comes down in here. It's really quite dark. And one of the reasons for that, of course, is that the pearl earring, when it catches the light, really stands out against all this blackness here. So I'm just going to shade right around the earring here, up over the collar, and this round about there. Now I've got a slightly sharper dark pencil, and we'll work on the earring itself. Now, as I said, it's a natural pearl, so it's a bit misshapen, so we get a kind of a dark bit appearing here, and then a kind of slight indentation there, slightly darker on this side. Of course, all this is going to be very light. And then this pearl is casting a shadow on the pearl below it, so you get that kind of shape there, and then a bit of reflected light coming on this side. And then this part has a bit of shadow from the pearl too, so you get that kind of shape there. Okay, and this part of her neck is shaded as well, it's in shadow, darker there, and then this catches the light, and that bit there. Okay, so I'm going to work that up. As you see, I've started this already, bringing these dark folds. I'll take that right down to here, and this area here is all dark too. So we'll shade that in, and these parts here, and then we'll work on the background. Okay, I've worked on all these bits of shading on the back of the turban hanging down here, and also shaded on around here, these dark bits and the folds on the jacket. And what I'm going to do now is, because the whole head was silhouetted against a very dark background, I'm going to shade in right around here and right around the background here. I'm not going to fill the actual rectangle, but I'm going to give a kind of artistic impression, you know, of the shading and make it look a bit more dynamic. Right, so I'm going to start off by taking the dark pencil, it's the 6B, and just shading along the line like this. Bring it in a bit like that, all the way around, and bring it out slightly as I go, and then start to just, you know, shade fairly roughly around the outside part of it, but a lot more solidly when you come in to the face. You see the difference that makes? Now I'm going to do that all the way around. Right, well, as you see, I've been working my way around the drawing, making it stand out. As I come down this side, by the way, this part of the turban or the scarf starts to get lost, so you can start to kind of scumble over that with your dark pencil. Just blend it in, with the darks there, and that comes around the bottom of the fold here. And the same thing happens with the jacket. You get the darkness just blending into the back of the jacket there, so you don't know really where it starts, where it finishes. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you can join me again for another tutorial. But in the meantime, of course, all the best and happy drawing.